Hey guys, this is Damien with Dame Tech and I'm back with another video. Since I plan to make this a series in the channel, it was only natural that I'd give my harsh truth and honest review for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I've owned this phone for almost 4 months and I've used this phone as a daily driver since September. Henceforth, I do feel qualified to give my harsh but honest true thoughts on whether this phone is a good buy or not. Now, I will differentiate at the end of the video for those interested buyers who own the iPhone 13 Pro Max or iPhone 12 series and lower. With that being said, let's start with the good before talking about the bad. And right off the bat, one of the best features I've grown to love regarding the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the dynamic island. And yes, initially I too thought it was just a gimmick, but after iOS 16.2 update, I've grown to love Dynamic Island and specifically the Live Activities feature. I love that many sports apps can now allow you to track the scores of sports events, which is amazing. You can even track the progress of recipes while cooking, while some cooking apps will even set active timers and voice commands, all built within the Live Activities feature in the Dynamic Island. Another live activity that I've also grown to love is being able to track my flights. It's so convenient when multitasking and needing to research other information, all the while keeping my flight status visible. The Flighty app is very convenient and again a great usage of the Dynamic Island. All in all, Live Activities truly does add a unique way to multitask on the iPhone. Now, does it really compete with the split screen feature on Android devices? No. But again, Live Activities is a feature I didn't think I'd enjoy this much. Now, another upgrade that I liked for the iPhone 14 Pro Max over the 13 Pro Max is the higher screen nit brightness. For reference, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is officially rated to max at 12,000 nits screen brightness, while the 14 Pro Max is rated to peak up to 2,000 nits screen brightness. However, according to iClarified, both devices scored much higher. The 13 Pro Max actually peaks up to 1300 nit screen brightness, while the 14 Pro Max peaks up to 2300 screen nit brightness. Nevertheless, like Dynamic Island, this is a feature I never knew I'd like this much. Despite owning larger phones like the Fold 4 or even tablets like my iPad Pro, there has been many occasions I actually preferred my 14 Pro Max when watching content or reading due to the better screen brightness, especially when outside or watching HDR movies. Now, let's talk about the cameras. I have both good and bad things to share. Starting with the good, on paper, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has an overall phenomenal upgraded camera system compared to the 13 Pro Max. Apple has added a 65% bigger camera sensor as well as a 48 megapixel camera that unfortunately can only be accessed through ProRAW mode. These 48 megapixel ProRAW shots have been some of the most absolutely best when it comes to detailed photos. Out of all the devices I've tested, the 48 megapixel camera on the iPhone is providing the best when it comes to detailed wide-angle images. I absolutely love taking photos using ProRAW mode. Now, let's talk about the not so good. First and foremost, each shot when using ProRAW takes around 100 megabytes. Just for reference, the S22 Ultra only uses 20 megabytes per shot for their 180 megapixel photos. Hence, Apple is forcing buyers to spend more on the iPhone 14 Pro by having to select higher storage options in order to actually experience the upgrades of the camera system. Now for the other bad, as you can see, when not using ProRAW, the iPhone 14 Pro camera provides very small differences to the 13 Pro Max in photos. Both cameras are still using the same smart HDR4 image processing, and therefore, I didn't really notice huge differences when not using ProRAW. As for video, you'll soon see the differences are minimal. Now, as for performance or specifically gaming, I have both okay and not so great things to report. Starting with the good, the A16 Bionic is an impressive chip. Right off the bat, I've noticed slightly better thermals and a more stable frame rate while gaming. I do attribute this more to the claimed 50% more GPU memory bandwidth plus improved power efficiency in the A16 chip, which sadly, the commonly used GPU benchmarks don't really show. Now, for the not so good, the raw GPU performance of the A16 Bionic is yielding one of the smallest upgrades over the A15 that I've seen in many years. Despite the improved GPU memory bandwidth, the increase in raw performance is very small. Henceforth, the overall gaming experience in the 14 Pro Max isn't much better than the 13 Pro Max. At the end of the day, if you're part of the select few that wanted a beefier chip to experience an even better gaming experience in the already amazing iPhone 13 Pro, then you have to wait for the iPhone 15 Pro. However, if you're coming from a 12 Pro, then your gaming experience will be drastically better and therefore definitely worth the upgrade. Last but not least, I did also want to mention quickly battery life, as there was some definite early concerns during the initial release of the 14 Pro Max. However, after iOS 16.2 update, I can confidently say I'm getting the same battery performance of the 13 Pro Max. Now, this can be seen as good or bad depending on the user and if you're desiring more out of the 14 Pro Max. Anyways, in conclusion, Apple played it way too safe in 2022 with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So safe that I cannot in good conscience advise anyone who owns a 13 Pro Max to upgrade to the 14 Pro Max. I do wish Apple pushed more innovation in the 14 Pro Max. Now, if you own an iPhone 11 Pro or maybe even the 12 Pro, then the 14 Pro Max is actually a great buy. Taking all of this into consideration, thank you for watching, and definitely stay tuned as next month I will review and test the Galaxy S23 Ultra, so please stay safe and see you all next time.